What's up and good morning, guys. Welcome back to another video. I'm just gonna take a second. I know I'm wearing a jacket. I'm actually really hot wearing this jacket right now, but you know, everybody says, Rhino, how do you live in California? Well, it is the middle of December. It is like almost 70 degrees outside. It's been in the high 70s all this past week. It's hard to beat the weather, guys. Some of you guys like snow, and that's great for you. I don't like the cold. So, you know, California is where I'm staying, at least for now. You never know where the future's gonna bring us. Now, the last big giant ranch project we did was the pool deck and the pool that I'm standing on top of right now. And this actually is not a finished project. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this in the past videos, but I never put my trim board all the way around the edge. And reason being, I lost my Milwaukee multi-tool. I don't know where the heck the thing went. When we came in here and Dave cut all of this with his track saw, he can only get so close to the edge here because obviously you have like the whole frame of the saw. So my plan was to mark that and use the multi-tool, which is an oscillating cutter, to cut the last little bit there. I don't know how I lost it. It is the one tool I cannot find and have not been able to find. So I just need to sack up and buy another one because they're really not that expensive. And then I can finish out the trim. And I've actually got some cool ideas on what to do around at least two sides of this pool. But the pool is doing great if anybody cares. I do have a pool guy. I hired a pool guy to take care of this thing. And he said out of all of the pools that he does, ours seems to hold the best in terms of like holding its pH level. He barely has to add any chemicals to this thing. So I think we done good, guys. Of course, we got Mr. Gunner. Gunner, say hi to everybody. I know it's a little warm out here, huh? And then speaking of warm, the horse, on the other hand, she loves the warmth, so she comes outside and loves to just lay on the patio and sunbathe. You good? Now, we're gonna be doing a little something different today. We're gonna be working on an indoor project, which is very rare when it comes to ranch projects, at least in like my house. The guest house, obviously we did a whole bunch of stuff over there, but it's not too often I bring you guys inside and show you projects. One of the reasons is because it's not very bright in here. We don't have a whole lot of lighting. We've got one ceiling fan there that we should probably change out and get some more lighting in here. I've got pretty good plans for this house, and I'm gonna ask for some input here in a second, but let me tell you guys what we're gonna be working on in this video. So obviously we've got the Rhino Ranch living room. Remember, things look a lot smaller on GoPros, but we've got us an 85-inch beautiful television sitting in front of a giant rock fireplace. One of the things about this house, it's cool, but it's not exactly my style, is every single room in the house has a giant rock fireplace. This house was built in the 80s. This type of stone is very 80s. In fact, it is all real stone. Like, this is not some thin veneer, like tile thickness of stone. Look at this piece. Look at this. This piece is in there sideways. Look at how deep and far back it goes in there. That is a lot of stone. I don't know what we got in there. Some plastic? Interesting. Interesting. I can't wait to start deconstructing this house and seeing what kind of weirdness we have going on, but there's probably a good bit of it. Anyways, so you might notice, giant fireplace, however, the 85-inch TV completely covers the firebox, which is back there. And it is a giant firebox, however, next to this TV, it looks kind of small. In this big, beautiful house of ours, you'll notice there is no attic space. It is all just tongue and groove. There might hopefully is some insulation maybe on top of that, and then we've got the tile roof, but I highly doubt there's insulation there. So anyways, it can get a little bit chilly here at night. Obviously during the daytime it's not too bad, but at night it can get a little chilly. And out here we are on propane. And well, the first year we were here, I decided I'm running everything full-time, right? In the summertime I'm running the air conditioning full-time. In the wintertime I'm running the heater full-time. Like, let's see what it costs to run this house. It is a pretty big house and it was pretty affordable. So I'm like, all right, no big deal, right? Whatever makes you feel comfortable, turn it on. Then the following year, come winter time, I was running the heater, which is again is all propane. And I saw the propane truck come, he filled up my tanks and it was like a $600 something bill. All right, cool, I haven't seen that guy in a long time. The following month, I see the propane truck driving down my driveway and I'm like, man, what is that guy doing back here? And filled up my tank again, another $600 bill. So in 2 months, it cost me $1,200 in propane to heat this house like moderately. And I was like, yeah, we're not gonna do that anymore. That's a little too pricey. So the lifesaver has been heated blankets. However, having a big, beautiful fireplace, I feel like maybe there's a cheap way to heat at least the living room space and maybe the bedrooms at some point. Maybe we should actually use the fireplace. But I can't do that with my 85-inch TV in front of it. And I am not particularly fond of the 80s stone. Now, I'm sure somebody spent really good money on getting all of this stone put on. Because again, this is not veneer stone. This is full-size chunks of stone. And eventually, this is all coming out. And eventually this wall is coming out. And I would like to shrink the fireplace if I could. And I got a bunch of plans for this. But for now, because I'm not ready to do the whole renovation, because certain things you kind of got to do at once, right? If I rip this wall out, there's gonna be no flooring beneath it. And well, I don't think I can find this flooring to continue, and I don't even like this flooring, but I don't think I can find it to continue it. So basically I would have this weird patch until I decide to do all of the flooring. So one of the things when you're renovating your house is you kind of got to think about that stuff, right? I don't want to just have a weird bare spot of concrete for 2 years until I decide like, oh, now I have enough money to completely do all of the floors. I'm the like do it all at once type of guy, or don't do it at all. Now, when I first bought the house, I bought this TV almost immediately. I think the biggest TV I had in my old house was like a 46-inch, which would not look good on this big of a fireplace. I also bought a mount. Let me go show you guys that. And this will also give us a little update on the gym. A lot of you guys ask about the Rhino Ranch gym. I love this gym. One of the things I do a lot is I scroll Zillow, and you look at like multi-million-dollar houses, right? 10, 20, $30 million houses, and they all list that they have a gym. It's usually like some little room off of either like the master or off the rec room, and it's got like an elliptical, a little TV, and maybe like a little weight bench. And for a $10 million house, very unimpressive. But what I think we did here is something super, super cool, building out the Rhino Ranch gym. I got back into it pretty good, pre-SEMA. Post-SEMA, I really do need to get back on the grind here, but I was super sick after SEMA, and I just need to really stop making excuses. We do not have the dumbbell rack built yet. I know we talked about building one. Me and Dave were gonna build like a pretty sick dumbbell rack that was gonna go along that wall just below the big mirrors over there. However, it's just something that hasn't been a priority, and well, you can see they just live on the ground right now. So eventually that's gonna happen. And then we have this back room. I don't ever show this because it's kind of a mess. This was like our catch-all when we first moved in, and we really haven't done anything with it since. It's an odd green color, but I need to figure out what I wanna do with this space. One of our first instincts was we were gonna turn this into like a music room, music studio. I do play drums, I do play a decent amount of piano, and having like a dedicated music studio would be pretty sick. It's got this giant closet here that is super wide, but like vocal booth? I don't know. But literally when we moved in, we threw all of what you see in here and then like closed the door and have not looked in this room since. But here is the TV mount. All right, so obviously we've got a pretty large mount to hold an 80-inch TV or 85-inch, whatever the heck that thing is. Problem being, these mounts are meant for flat walls. Well, if you look down the profile of the stone here, there is not a flat surface anywhere, nor would I want to mount to the actual stone itself that's just held on by mortar. Some of this has been glued, let's see, and spray foamed and Gorilla Glued back on in years past. So it's really not the best idea to attach to the stone, nor would it be easy. First things first, we're going to actually be removing stone, mounting the TV mount to whatever's behind here. I believe it is concrete block. I hope it is concrete block. I have no idea. We don't know until we start pulling this stuff apart. But we're gonna have to pull stone off. We're gonna have to cut stone to fit around the TV mount. Then we're gonna do an entire finish treatment on this because I'm sick of everything in this house being brown on brown on brown. We literally have a brown, a brown, a brown, brown, a different brown, brown over there. It is not my style at all. And speaking of style, maybe you guys have some input. So a lot of people have suggested I put the TV on this wall. Well, if you guys notice this giant center beam that runs through the house, it is not center with this room. So if I were to put a TV off center, it would look kind of funky. It would have to be like over here somewhere. And then I tried flipping the couch. Obviously I can get a different couch, but you really would be in some weird off center land. I flipped the couch the other day just to see how I liked it, and it felt horrible. I didn't like it at all. So I know you can run into some heat issues, especially with a wood burning fireplace, with having a TV above it, but we'll address that when the time comes. But I just think for this room and this layout, above the fireplace is where it goes. But again, if any of you guys out there are designers, or your wives are designers, or your girlfriend is a designer, or your mom is a designer, or you are the most designerably man in the world, what can I do with this wall right here? Now mind you, this is eventually gonna come out, and I'll show you what's gonna go on the other side here in a second. Don't mind, I should probably shut off the vacuum that's running around the house right now. What can I do with this wall? All right, being off center, because we have this issue in the master bedroom as well. But let me know, guys, what do you think? This wall, what can we do with that? But let me take you around to the other side of the fireplace, and it gets a little bit dark over here. Again, there's not a lot of lighting in this house. I do have a solution for that at some point when we go for the full remodel as well. So, I mean, it's a cool fireplace, right? Like, they did a good job with it. Whoever, you know, spent some money. Look at this rough sawn timber that they used to frame out these coves in the backside of the fireplace, which is actually, this is the first thing you see when you walk in the front door, is this. Now, the area that I eventually want to rip out is off to the side. So you can see we have the main center section from here to there. That's the fireplace area. And then on the opposite side of the wall, that drywall section is from here over. We've got some pretty nice built-ins right there, as well as a stone ledge below it. So Essentially, I would like to just rip this out and open this up all the way around the fireplace. Now, I was doing a little bit of exploring earlier because I'm curious as to what's going on. We got a fluorescent light up here to provide some uplighting again. Very 80s. Oh, it looks like the GoPro does not like that light right there. Like, this house was built really well, right? It's all 2x6 frame. There are some high-end features like that were done back in the 80s or whenever. It's just stuff that normal houses didn't have. So I do like this place for that. It's just, it's time that we start to update it. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna clear out some of the Christmas decorations. I'm not gonna attempt to move the TV by myself. We've got HYPERLITE on his way up here. We've got Abel on his way over here. And we're gonna start deconstructing. Now, one thing I did not even cross my mind, and I don't know how it didn't because I've installed a bunch of TVs, is I don't have power up here. And I don't wanna run a cord up my fireplace. I mean, this is probably the best one too, because I could probably hide it inside of here, and I might just do that for now. I know it's not UL rated. I mean, yeah, it's probably not the end of the world, but we might just cut a little channel for now to run a cord up to here. And then once we remove the stone and do like whatever we plan on doing with this fireplace, we'll actually permanently put some power up there. And we don't need to get a cable or anything up there. We have DirecTV and we actually have the wireless cable boxes. So all we need is power. As long as I can get power to the back of the TV, we are good to go. Start first by moving the box of things. This is where we keep all of the dog toys. Let's see, I feel like Gunner might appreciate a little lamb right now. Let's see. There you go, buddy. Stay sleeping. Now, you may notice this crate inside of here. This is actually our cat condo. That's what we call it. I'm very allergic to cats. However, after losing 2 cats to coyotes, we didn't want to lose the 3rd one. They are great for rodent protection outside. So late at night, she comes in, and this is her sweet little cat condo. She got a little scratch and post, a hammock. I don't know if I'm pointing the right way, and a nice bed down there. Now, while we wait for the guys to show up, I'm gonna rip down a piece of plywood so we can protect this granite piece right there. Again, all of this is eventually coming out. However, in the meantime, I don't want it to be all damaged, and God forbid we drop a nice big chunk of stone on there and then we've got a big chip missing out of it. In the back of the 6.0, I've had a lot of sheets of, what is that, 1/4 inch? Alright, y'all, well, one of our other cats just walked up and interrupted us. Every once in a while, we get a cat that just shows up. And we've had 2, actually 3 so far since we have lived here. I'm going to have to wash that knee in a second here, but this is aptly named Leo. So Leo showed up about a year ago. Apparently, this is where he lives now. Started hanging out up at the guest house a lot, and then now he kind of moves back and forth, and I believe he sleeps in Dedek's Jeep every night. Now you're probably saying, Rhino, why don't you bring Leo in every night? Our cat and Leo do not get along very well. They always try to fight. So since he just kind of wandered out here, he's pretty street smart, so he gets to live outside. And again, in Dedek's Jeep, nothing's really gonna get him. Pull out a sheet of plywood. Now, in the essence of making this easier, we need 22 inches to cover, and instead of cutting an entire sheet 22 inches, because I don't really have a place to lay it out and make that easy, we're just gonna cut 22-inch pieces that are 4 foot wide, and we'll just move around. Makes them easier to store as well. Oh, this is some bowed wood right here. Alright, we'll get us close enough. It's not cut through the bed of the truck. You know, one of the things I do need to buy is the Milwaukee track saw, because basically you just put 2 marks, line the track up, and go. You don't need to mark it like I'm doing here.
We're just going on the floor?
Yep. Alright, y'all, so we have got the template, and obviously the template's a little bit smaller than what we're doing, but we're just getting some marks here to know what stones either need to come out or get cut. So probably can't see the marks too good, but there's marks all the way around. Now this is like the lowest I want to go with the TV. Obviously the TV is rather large, so this is 43 inches tall. So I believe the mount goes at the center of the TV. So we took a center mark there, and basically the way the TV is going to sit, it's probably going to be about here. Now that we have the TV moved, you can kind of see that there used to be a bunch of stuff here. There was probably a big mantle at one point. This side looks very pieced in, like they did something weird here. I don't know if there was maybe a built-in or something funky going on this side, but definitely over the years this has changed. There's been a lot of odd repairs. There's like some grout right there and those holding them in. If you come up higher again, we see some more like Gorilla Glue or something holding pieces in. Again, this stuff just kind of falls out. Like not all of it is mortared in very well when you have these tiny little pieces like these that are all stacked up right there. Now, Papa Rhino was saying back in the day, people used to hide money in these. One of these is removable, so if we find it, you're not gonna find out about it. We've picked the removable ones. I mean, there's quite a few of them on here. So some removable ones. I don't see any money in there, but there is a hole back there. Oh, that's a big one. Oh, that one's ready to come down.
I think we found it, guys.
Now, in a perfect world, we would cut these in place. We don't have to really remove anything, and we'd be good to go. However, that is gonna be incredibly dusty. My shop vacs, they do an okay job at getting the dust, but not enough to still eventually end up coating this entire room with dust if we are sitting here cutting the stone. We could use water. That's just gonna make a whole nother giant mess. Part of what our plan is gonna be is we're gonna try to pull out some of these. Like this booger right here doesn't need to be here. He's only got a tiny little wing there, which we don't even really need. This guy can be pulled out. We can cut that outside, and then we put this little chunk back in. Again, just kind of looking where the marks are. Like this guy, obviously he can be cut outside. These monster ones right here are gonna be a little bit tougher. So some of these, Papa Rhino might try to get in here and chip by hand. He's an old school mason. He's pretty good at cutting block and stone, really with just a hammer. So we'll see how that goes. Probably gonna get a little bit messy, but we're gonna try and do our best to do all of the cutting outside. I think things are gonna get a little bit interesting though, and I'm genuinely curious as to what's behind here. I hope this is a concrete block chimney. We are wondering what's on the sides here. Sometimes they build just a concrete block chimney up the center, and then maybe they framed out with wood the sides to make this wider. I would ideally like to shrink the sides later on, so if that's the case, like that might work in my favor. If it is all concrete block all the way up, well, then this thing stays this side in the long run. But now you can see how big the actual firebox is. I mean, that is a solid, I don't know, 4.5, maybe 5 feet. I guess we have a tape measure. We could actually measure this. Oh, let's use the old toe there to hold it. Oh, look at that. Pretty good on the guesstimation there. We're 4'8". That's a good sized firebox, and it has propane coming in. And I believe, don't quote me on that, that is like to help ignite the wood. That's like kind of your starter, and then you switch over to wood. I don't really know. Maybe some guys run their fireplace on propane. I imagine that would burn through a good amount of propane, which would put us back to our whole issue of like heating the house for thousands of dollars every couple of months. Alrighty, well, when we first marked the wall for the actual template for the bracket, I assumed center of the TV. I didn't look at the back of the TV. That was my mistake. You can see by these 4 holes here, this is not in the center height-wise of the TV. It's actually pretty close to the bottom. So we have since readjusted our lines. Kind of see them taped out here. The bottom of the bracket was originally here, and we've lowered it down to here now. So Papa Rhino is working on getting the first one out. Does not sound like that is the one that has the money behind it. So the problem with taking the stone out, it's kind of like when you break out concrete. All it takes is one little nub of another piece of stone or the mortar behind there to touch each other, and it just binds it in and locks it in. There's a lot of stacked stuff going on. It's probably super bound in. You can also see why I never hung the TV when we first moved in. I knew it was gonna be a pain in the butt. Safety first.
Safety first. Oakleys.
We don't have a code for Oakleys. Heat waves.
Heat waves.
Heat waves. Use code Dmaxryno 10. Save you 10%. Looking promising now. Ooh, there's a lot of mortar back there.
So you guys can see, no money.
No money. You can see this isn't like a thin veneer brick or stone like they use nowadays, where they're just real thin slices. Gives the illusion of something thick. This was how they did it back in the day. Super thick. I mean, this piece alone probably weighs 20 pounds or so, I would say. She is super thick. So you can only imagine these monster pieces that are up in here, how thick and how hefty they are. And then add on top of that, you've got a ton of mortar in the back that was locking everything together and sticking these up. Or we got a screw holding it in. Holding everything together. Let me unthread that bad boy right there. All right, 3 hours later, we've gotten 2 pieces of stone off this monster right here. We can't even see what the firebox is built out of yet. We've got a ways to go. This is broken right here, so these are gonna come with it. It's got a crack all the way right there.
Okay, wait. Okay, this one's coming. I'll hold these.
You got that stable?
What's your careful with?
Up a little.
Ok, no.
Get the más.
Listo, listo,
Ahí está.
Okay, guys, no money.
Yeah, we need to
So
do
this
that.
one can go.
That one can go, and
And
then
then you're right here. Hopefully we can get that to break.
let's see, we got about 2.5, maybe 3 inches thick on that guy. So they had to use a lot of mortar to pad it out to be, you know, somewhat flush to something as thick as this sticking out of the wall. It's gonna get really messy when we start chipping out all that mortar.
That's what we wanted.
There you go. We lucked out on that one breaking.
Yeah, she's still way back.
Well, y'all, we made quite the hole there for not that big of a mount, but again, some of these stones, we only need to remove that much of it, but the entire piece goes that much higher than the hole, so we've just had to keep opening it up, and sometimes the stone above it is on top of the stone below, and there's just no way to get it out without knocking the one above it loose. But we are almost there, y'all. We are almost there. There's 2 more pieces that have to come out over there. Got it all cleaned out. Now, my plan was originally to chip all of that mortar out that's back there, and eventually we find the concrete block that this thing is made out of or whatever, we anchor into that. Papa Rhino thinks I'm crazy. He says we should just anchor into this mortar, which mortar is not concrete. Albeit this old school stuff is probably much stronger than like some of the new concrete you can buy nowadays. But I'm not super sold on that idea. That TV is not light. It's not super, super heavy, but it's not light. But at this point, I mean, we are already probably 6 inches back in this void right here. We still have not found what this thing is made out of. And according to Papa Rhino, when they build these things back in the day, like the firebox probably goes back like that in and then up. So there's probably a good amount of mortar still to go. So I think what our new plan is we're gonna skim this flat. And the whole reason we even took the stone off is because I want a flat surface to mount the big old mount on. But we might just come in with some rapid set concrete and / mortar and skim this flat. Probably gonna screw us when it goes to putting this stone back on. We're gonna have to get creative there, but that'll give us something to anchor everything to and go from there. I don't know. I mean, this stuff's pretty solid, but there's a lot of little voids in here. So we'll probably definitely overdo it on the anchoring. Got the Milwaukee backpack vacuum coming in clutch right now. All problem is I don't know where my brush end went for this thing. That'd be perfect. Now, unfortunately, because we didn't know exactly what we were gonna find when we opened this up, we don't have all of the material we need. We need some rapid set. We're gonna mix up, I don't know, Papa Rhino's got some concoction in his mind to skim over top of this and it still be strong enough to hold up my 100-pound TV, hopefully. We're gonna get some all thread. We're gonna drill in through the existing mortar. We don't wanna go too far. We don't wanna hit the flue pipe that goes all the way up through to the chimney. And then I'm thinking epoxy. We're gonna epoxy in some all thread, which at this point, being that we're not kind of taking it to where I thought we were gonna take it to, we probably could have done this with the stone there and just like epoxied all thread in and use nuts on the backside to kind of use like be standoffs. But hey, sometimes you don't know until you start to open things up exactly what you're getting into. We're already committed, we're already opened up. So I'm gonna run to Home Depot. We're gonna get all this kind of just cleaned up for today and grab all the materials we need for tomorrow, and then we will jump back on and hopefully my TV doesn't fall. Okay guys, we are back for day 2. We've got a bunch of materials over here. There's actually another bag of some thin set in the Bronco. Papa Rhino's dead set on using a little bit of thin set to bond to the stone. Again, he's the OG stonemason, not myself. He says he's gonna mix up some concoction that's gonna make this strong. I did go ahead and pick up a couple of nozzles for the Milwaukee backpack vacuum. I gotta say, I wish Milwaukee packaged all of their nozzles the same because this clamshell packaging is the worst, but this is their new air tip. Well, I mean newer air tip. So instead of having the brushes all the way around at the outside of this circle, which if you're mushing it into a pile of dust, it like this front row pushes the dirt and stuff away. It has the brushes inside, so hopefully you don't push stuff out of the way. And then I've got this sliding one. It's more of a little crevice tool. Because I don't know if I've said it yet, but we're actually going to be whitewashing all of this stone, and we're gonna wanna clean it pretty good. I'm not gonna OCD out on cleaning it. I don't need this finish to last, 40 years. So we're just gonna give it a quick vacuum. There's just too many crevices. I mean, this stone is super textured. I mean, you look at some of these, look at this. This looks like coral. That's how textured it is. There's just no way to clean this entire thing and not lose your sanity. So we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna give it a quick once over with the vacuum and call that good. And then we're gonna end up whitewashing all 3 sides of this thing. Currently though, I have Abel doing my super to code extension cord mod. where we were hiding an extension cord in between the joints of the stone. If I was gonna keep this set up permanently, we would wire this properly, but you see what a nightmare it is to get behind the stone. I would try to get behind that box and then just tap off of that outlet down there, run the appropriate wire, but I don't wanna like make this giant mess trying to even find the back of that electrical box that's down there. So instead, we plug in an extension cord and we hide it, which, crazy enough, you're probably not gonna be able to see it, but the wiring on this house, again, being that there is no attic, is all kind of just done like that. So we have this ceiling fan right here. Maybe you can see going up the side of that big beam is the wiring for the ceiling fan. It's painted brown, then they painted it white or whatever, it's originally white. It goes across, it somehow goes over this beam inside of that little groove right there in the tongue and groove. It then runs down alongside this beam. This is probably horrible on a GoPro to show you. It then transitions back to white and it sits inside of the groove right on top of the stone, and it kind of runs along the stone and then back into the wall right there. I guess they had to get creative when doing some wiring when you have no attic space above. I don't really know what they did on this one, because this one there is no exposed wiring and they're not on a beam, they're just in the middle of the T and G. So while trying to get in there good and in between the joints here, some of these stones are just falling out. Of course, when you don't want them to fall out, they fall out. When you're trying to get them out like over here, they don't want to come out. So anyone that pops out, Abel is numbering, that way we know where to put it back. And like when these big ones pop out, we're actually just cutting a channel in the mortar behind them that the cord can sit in, and then we're just gonna stick it back on top. Now, while Abel is doing that, we got the Milwaukee backpack vacuum, and we've got one of our new tips on here. I'm gonna start the very tedious process of trying to clean all of this stone. We're probably gonna burn through quite a few batteries. Ready, set, go. Alrighty, y'all, so all of these stone has been vacuumed. Abel has our nice little channel that the extension cord is going to sit in. And then again, we're just gonna kind of hide it up in between the rocks as we go. And these ones actually fell off, so those will go on. But again, he carved out a little channel in the mortar back behind there. And then we are going to be gluing these on using some of this adhesive. This stuff is what we use on like keystone walls and all that. And you actually tear the keystone block apart. The glue will still remain and hold the pieces together. Like the chunk of concrete will come out of the block before this glue will actually separate. This is the good stuff. This is not, you know, Gorilla Glue back on pieces. So this is what we're gonna use to stick stuff on. Because obviously if we wanted to remortar some of these on, we have to chip out the mortar behind it. Otherwise they're gonna stick out super far. All these little pieces and some of the bigger ones are gonna get glued on. We are looking pretty good. I mean, if you stand back, once those pieces are on, you would have no idea that there was a cord running through there.
What? Oh, okay.
We're gonna be using threaded rod to anchor this into the mortar and hopefully the block behind it. We're gonna drill in. We're using the Milwaukee roto hammer, and then we're gonna be using a quick set epoxy to epoxy this in. Obviously it's not gonna be this long. We're gonna cut this into, I don't know, 8-inch pieces or whatever, depending on how deep we like to go in there. The way the bracket attaches is you've got all of these holes right here that you can use to bolt this to the wall. It says use 3 on the top and 1 on the bottom, so we're just gonna go with however many we can get. The more the merrier when anchoring it into this, because we're essentially relying on the epoxy grabbing and holding everything and locking it in place. The actual weight of the bracket though is going to be sitting on basically this shelf right here, give or take. So we've got our holes drilled. Now we're going to vacuum out all of the dust. Swivel. Oh, battery. Alrighty, so it's important to clean out the holes if you have a bunch of dust in there. If you guys ever just take a pile of dust and put some glue on it, you'll see that it'll stick to nothing. So we get in there, we clean the holes out really well. Now I'm gonna mark about the length that I wanna cut this all thread, give or take. Should probably put the bracket in place. Now I'm using 5/16 all thread because that's basically what fits in these little slots that they allotted for the bolts to go through. And then as you can see, there's a big void behind the bracket here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this longer, and then I'm gonna put a nut on the back side and a nut on the front side, and that'll hold this basically to where the mount's not super cockeyed. So we know that like this is not a flat wall that we're putting this mount on, right? So we're kind of eyeballing which way the mount should go. If we ran a straight edge across here, depending on what stone you're on, it's gonna be different in every location because these stones just vary in depth so much. So we're gonna do our best to eyeball it. Good news is this is a full motion TV mount, so the back is independent of the front. It doesn't really matter what's going on back there because we can always adjust with the TV and push that up. This is not my ideal way of doing things, y'all, but there's just no point in putting a ton of effort into this, knowing this is all gonna get ripped out, you know, who knows when. Okay, so I've got everything pre-cut and we're on the super wide view, so if things look wonky, that's why. So we'll just pull these out one at a time. We will epoxy them in. We'll let it cure overnight before we actually go to tighten these things down, but it'll get us good enough and locked in, and then Paparano can go in and start placing all of these stone around it. We're gonna build a little shelf down here out of some mortar. So really the weight of this thing is gonna kind of sit on some mortar down here. And then obviously these ones that we have a big gap on, that'll end up getting filled in. So we'll basically be able to, you know, those bolts will get kind of grabbed in and locked in.
It's a shorty?
No, shouldn't be. These top ones are the important ones.
No más, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál es?
Este. Sí.
Did it go in right?
Right here.
Yeah, but this one's gonna come out a little bit, so yeah, that's right. Poquito es la entro, es okay, porque the cover. Alrighty, y'all, well, I had to run over to my neighbor James's house and help him out with a pretty big project that he is working on. While I was gone though, you can see Paparano and Abel pretty much got most of the stone placed back in. You can see right here where we ran that cord, you cannot even tell that there is a cord running up in between the joints of the stone. And then they've got some temporary little 2x4s holding the stone in place while they wait for the glue to dry. I realized I talked way too much in this video, so we should probably wrap it up before it's like an hour-long video. So I do apologize for talking so much in this video, but I kind of wanted just to clue you guys in on all the interior stuff. The next step is we're going to be, well, finishing this, figuring out what the heck we're gonna do in here, just probably getting that smooth, and then doing the whitewash finish all the way around the 3 sides of the fireplace. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please click the subscribe button now, though you do not miss out on any future content. Don't forget to give this video a like, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out workforapparel.com, because if there's anything you want in this life, you gotta be willing to work for it. You guys are the best. I'm out.
Damn. Yeah.